Instead of possibly attacking people's beliefs, I'd rather want to instill the critical thinking tools in people through general education.
That might be one of the secrets of being successful on YouTube that we haven't discussed on this podcast. Successfully navigating and cultivating, evolving what that persona is.
What I think people really like about that kind of content is the attitude of, I'm gonna around and find out. This might be dangerous. I don't know what's gonna happen. Watch this crazy thing I can do with my education. I just want to do something that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, some kid comes up to me and says, I became a doctor, I became a scientist, engineer, physicist because of what you did.
Andre, APM, doesn't believe you. He thinks that you are secretly a mad scientist, villainous type. When are you going to reveal that?
I would say, be careful starting your car.
Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown, the home of Make Something Mean Something. It is TCU night, Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. We are live on Discord. We will not be live, however, at VidCon this year because it is no more. Isn't that right, Matthew Tabor?
Yeah, when they heard you were coming, they canceled everything. And they didn't put that in the press release. They were like, oh my God, he's booked a ticket. We have to shut this down. That's my theory.
Right. The entire thing is not worth it if I'm going to be there, as they've proved. Yeah, so they just stopped the whole thing. And I guess if they find out if I'm coming next year, they'll do it again.
That's right, and that is it is already rescheduled. If you hadn't seen that detail, they've already got it slotted in for the early 20s of June. I know that it goes until Saturday the 25th. So. You know, I know it's, what is that, 9 months out, something like that, 10 months. You have time to have a baby. Fit that in. But yeah, I mean, you know, it always used to be at the end of June, so they're going back to the regular schedule unless something else changes. But no, it's a real blow to, you know, all the people who have been excited, especially from not having one last year. There's been so much talk about it. We've talked about it 100 times, you know, but I don't know. What can we do?
Yeah, we can't do anything. I know a lot of people are still going, so that's cool. They're still going just to kind of hang out. Obviously, there's no convention, but they still are just going to get together, and I think that's a good idea. So, but we won't be. So, I don't know. I know that we were going to meet up with TCU people, and that was going to be great, but that's going to have to wait. You're just going to have to wait for TCU in person, I guess, until June. Not our fault, though. Not our fault.
No.
We did not create the coronavirus.
Prove it.
Well, putting us on the spot right now about my part in the creation of this pandemic is our guest. And Matt has a little something to say to get you up to speed with who we're talking to this evening.
Sometimes the importance of a historical event wanes in posterity, yet years later proves itself to have incubated great men and women. The Mexican-American War of the 1840s was like that. Outside of Texas, few know its details, but everybody knows the personalities who had a significant impact after, like Ulysses Grant and Robert E. Lee. Such seems to be the case with the reality show Mythbusters: The Search. I can't tell you who won the thing, but I know contestant Alan Pan and the show's host and today's guest, Kyle Hill. If you've wasted time on YouTube, you have almost certainly seen one of Kyle's videos, because it's impossible not to click on a video about whether an uppercut can actually lift a body off the ground, or why you don't really want to be able to fly, what it's like to build a computer in Magic the Gathering, or just any of the bizarre problems Chernobyl continues to have. Kyle's blend of raw knowledge and entertainment is unique, and he's one of the few people with actual credentials not only in engineering but also in science communication. Both degrees are from Marquette. Kyle spent years as the science editor for Nerdist and making videos on its Because Science channel. He's popped up in Bill Nye's Netflix series, he's worked with news networks like Al Jazeera, and he's done something else that we almost never see in this industry. He left Nerdist to go out on his own as administrator of The Facility, his very successful independent channel with both scripted and live videos that'll celebrate its millionth subscriber right around the time this episode drops. A significant portion of Kyle's content is about the intersection of superheroes, fantasy, sci-fi, and real science. And with a hair care regimen that includes the infusion of argan oil, you wouldn't be too far wrong mistaking Kyle himself for Marvel's Thor. Kyle's blend of expertise and creativity truly is singular, which is why he can approach virtually any topic. And right on his website, he states, "No question is too nerdy." Well, Kyle, let's say that's true. If no question is too nerdy, what's the question that's the closest possible thing to being too nerdy?
The closest possible thing. So, hello. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Hello.
Fans of you boys and everything you've been doing. Of course, we are collaborators in the same cohort of science educators, sciencey types, YouTuber types. Happy to be here. I'm of the idea that pretty much you can be a nerd about anything. So when I say a question is never too nerdy, I mean is that as long as you're passionate, as long as you're curious and you're always questioning, and you take what you find to either reinforce or disprove ideas that you may have had, I consider you a nerd or a geek, and you continue to bolster or deflate your passion accordingly. If a question was too nerdy, I think nerds, especially on the internet, tend to get caught in the weeds with semantics and gatekeeping and that kind of thing. So if any question was too nerdy, it would probably be laden with one of these things that was gatekeepy or logical fallacy-y, like when you try to say anything critical about Elon Musk on Twitter.
When I saw that on the website, nothing is too nerdy. It's like my immediate thought was just challenge accepted. But I couldn't come up with a way to come up with a question. But you just explained that like that. That's a pretty plausible guide to getting there.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of, I don't know, through my years of doing science communication. That's funny that I said communication wrong. Science communication and live content and hosting shows and live panels and all this kind of thing. I feel like I've exercised these muscles enough that I could probably make any question you threw at me. I'd give you something back, I bet. And I do challenge you and everyone listening. Go ahead, try me.
I do like your answer, though, because I do think that I don't know if this is a byproduct just of the nature of Twitter in particular.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess maybe
if
Facebook
you want to get me
well.
started on social media, I mean, I think it's a net negative. I think it has warped people's psychology in a way that is detrimental to the fabric of society, literally. So I think I think you're exactly right. I think it is a byproduct of how we're incentivized to talk to each other online by giving us short hits of dopamine from likes and retweets and fake clout and passing fame to be loud and contrarian and dangerous. I mean, you see, like it gets as silly as the milk crate challenge, and then it gets as serious as coronavirus misinformation. So like there's a whole scale. You know what? I'm coming in way too hot here. Maybe we should just start off, easy. We'll ease into it before I start ranting about everything I hate about the world. But yeah, happy to be here.
No, I'm a big fan of ranting about things that you hate about the world. That's a good place to start. We've talked about the social media stuff a lot, and my reaction to it is usually just to stay out of that side of it. Like the whole argument side, I can't really remember. I do remember. I'm not gonna talk about it, but I do remember the last time I got into an actual Twitter argument, and after that, I said I'm not going to do that again. Yes, yeah.
Okay, we talked about that on a past episode.
Oh, we did.
That was a long time ago. You're due for another one.
No, that was the last time. Yeah, I tried to give what I thought was helpful advice, and it turned back on. It turned into me being like a terrible person somehow. I was like, all right, this was. I'm not going to do this again, and I haven't. It's hard. Like, how do you find the balance between feeling like you're helping and feeling like you're adding to the misery?
Well, it's a complicated question for a science communicator, right? Because you always want to be as accurate as possible without ever being wrong. And so it adds a different layer to the things that you say. Whereas if I was in any other profession, what I said isn't interpreted in the same way, and it doesn't perhaps carry the same kind of weight or importance or meaning to someone else listening to what I'm saying. Because I carry myself with some sort of expertise or perceived expertise. What I say, people assume that it's going to be as close to accurate as I can get it. So it's an interesting problem. To me, when I started off in science communication, I was in what they call like the skeptic community. And this is a community of people, the same kinds of community structure you find anywhere else, like their own podcasts and blogs and websites and whatnot. But these are people that dedicate their lives to like debunking misinformation, whether that be vaccines, vaccine denial and that sort of thing, to evolution denial, to information about the paranormal and mediums and the Loch Ness Monster and cryptids and stuff like that. Their whole thing is countering bad information. And I started there 2012, 2013, doing like articles here and there. But what I perceived was that, and this is kind of getting to our point here, what I perceived was that when I am always inserting myself into every conversation to say whether or not something is true, psychologically, I find that comes off as negative and mean, no matter the veracity of what I'm saying. And so when I decided that I wanted to do science communication as a career, I transferred more. I wanted to position myself more in that kind of Bill Nye vein, which is more general science guy, fun, sometimes silly, and general education. So it didn't always seem like I was being negative. And I wanted to, instead of possibly attacking people's beliefs, I'd rather want to instill the tools, the critical thinking tools in people through general education, so that if they ever did encounter one of these controversial topics, hopefully those tools would help them navigate that space. Now, where I draw the line, and which is why I do still get into Twitter arguments, and I do so more now because I'm also not at a large corporation and they can't, they're not, no one will come to me and be like,
no HR.
No HR. Just me, which is sometimes good, sometimes bad. But where I draw the line now, and I've always drawn the line, but more so now, I don't really insert myself into stuff unless I view it as actively harmful, and science and a scientific mindset or perspective would have something to say. So when I tweet at Elon Musk, like, what the hell are you doing, man? It's because he's tweeting shitty dank memes about the Taliban not wearing masks, where he's obviously equating, like, why aren't they wearing masks? He's equating, like, he's trying to make mask wearing seem like not a problem at all. Like, don't worry about it. Now, I see that when you're tweeting to 60 million people, I see that as actively harmful. And it's not an exaggeration to say that it will probably lead to some non-zero number of deaths. And similarly, when people say stuff about vaccine denial or any of that kind of thing, or what belongs in public education, that's where I draw the line. If it does real harm and we have scientific answers that are better, then I will insert myself. But for general stuff, I'm not going to step in and be like, well, actually, because there's a reason that's a meme. It's because it's viewed, no matter what you're saying, as negative, as that guy. And it's not always and just look at Neil deGrasse Tyson's Twitter. It's not always useful to be that guy. It just isn't. You're not always needed. You don't need to be heard all the time. And as a single white guy on the internet, no one needs to hear from me all the time. Trust me. Did I said single? I meant straight. If my girls are listening, I'm not announcing that. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I was like, oh, those circumstances changed.
This is an exclusive bombshell.
Oops, my bad. No,
TCU
sorry.
leaks, boom.
Yes, we're clipping that out.
I'm never going to, don't tell her. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a complicated thing. And no, I agree with you, Kevin. I mean,
how does it affect you is, I guess, my question, because it affects me. Like, that's why I stopped doing it, because if I got into one of these things, I would think about it for like days.
Oh yeah.
And that's really, I mean, you talk about harmful, like that's a harmful, unhealthy thing for yourself.
I saw someone tweet at me, maybe this is too personal, but like someone tweeted at me just like 2 days ago, like, "Hey Cal, you're looking fat." And I was,
oh God.
I think I was face down in my bed for the rest of the day. Because I mean, obviously they don't know that I struggle with body issues or anything like that. But when you say certain things, but that's why I think that social media is so harmful, is that the passing bullshit from a stranger can ruin your day.
Right.
And I think that's normal. I think that's normal for human brains to have that affect you. But in terms of like arguing sciencey stuff, I don't do it when I argue on the internet. I do not do it for the person that I'm arguing with. I'm almost not even talking to them. I will say something for anyone who looks at that, for the wider audience, so they have my opinion or what I say is factual information, and they can see that. Because arguing with a person, they will just continue to do it, and you're screaming into a void. I mean, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't. But again, when I'm drawing the line at something is potentially harmful and I have something to say about it, then if I feel like it can reach a wider audience of people who may or may not feel the same way as this person, then I will say something. Because I feel like, and I don't know how you boys feel, but as someone who has gone out on a limb multiple times as a science communicator, to feel like I should say something about, for example, like wearing masks or getting vaccinated or what have you, I feel almost morally obligated in my position, right? If I was totally silent and, I'm making science videos every week and I don't say anything about, hey, you should go and get a shot, feels like I'm leaving something out, right? I don't know. It's that line will be drawn differently for everyone. But for me, it's where I perceive harm is being done, and that's when I step in.
Mm-hmm. Well, so where do you decide where that line is, though? So
yeah,
because you can look at something and you can know something bad. So, like for example, this is going to be audio, but the people who can see me, I'm not ripped. I'm not in the best shape of my life. It would be perfectly valid.
Hollywood men have destroyed self-image, man. It's like I was watching a movie from like the 70s the other day. It was like people at the beach, and I was like, wow, people look different, and it's so warped these days. It's hard. It's hard for it's not obviously it's not just men, and it's more so women. But it's anyway. Continue. Sorry,
but well, somebody could take a look at me and say, you're not getting any younger. Now's a good time to think about your activity levels. You could very well be pre-diabetic, and they'd be completely and totally right about that. I mean,
did people say
nothing
that to you,
that they would say. No, but I'm saying they could, and that would be a factually useful thing to tell me.
Oh, okay.
Just like it would be to say, you aren't wearing a mask, you should wear a mask because it may help with X. In my bizarre example, which is crazy here, it would be, like we all know that if I were in better health, then my chances of getting something like diabetes would be lower.
Sure.
How do you decide when it's a pressing time to do this and when it's not a pressing time to do it? Because there is always that, like you said, non-zero chance that there's going to be harm.
Well, so like three things. First of all, if it's a personal thing that someone would have to work very hard at or change a whole thing about their life around, doing it publicly on Twitter or wherever on Facebook is not the place to do that. Especially if you know that person. How dare you call me out in front of 100,000 people and say that to me? That's pretty disrespectful. But even if it wasn't, I tend, again, my line is, of course, there's, I could say so many, I could go out and tweet like, everyone who vapes, you're wrong. Stop doing that. I mean, yes, generally vaping is not great. It's better. It's better than smoking, but it's not better than not smoking.
It's not as good as a plain air.
Not as good as plain air. I mean, we know that.
That's what I
we know
smoke.
that we know that factually, but
Okay, Kevin's a 4-pack a day plain air smoker.
Yeah, I'm addicted, man. It's just
oh man, I'm half a liter of breath. It's crazy. Which I think is the tidal inhalation volume, about 500 milliliters. Matterbeam is in the Discord. He can check that for me. But he's my go-to nerd. You'll see him. But
oh, excellent.
Yeah, he does all the math and stuff. But my line is more, again, general public knowledge that I feel would be useful or counteracting something that I see as a grand public harm. So if I say something about, weird example, but like flat earth or evolution denial or vaccine denial or something like that, I feel like that affects that's useful or potentially useful to the widest possible audience. If it's something like someone's health habits, that doesn't seem, that seems pretty critical of something that isn't, who would I be helping,
What I'm hearing in what you just said is that if it has implications for like public health policy, then it's fair game as opposed to, this is your life, you're on your own.
Yeah. And look, I mean, it kind of comes down to, if I was to step back, kind of big picture this a little bit. One of my favorite musical artists is St. Vincent, Annie Clark. I think she's straight up genius. In how she creates her image and her music and her singing and all that. And she said something, and she said something once that's always stuck with me. And her persona is very different from who she is not on stage. And Kevin, I'm sure you feel similarly. Like when you're filming a video, that's not you. Really. Yeah. I mean, it's not. It's a performative version of you. My brother, my own flesh and blood, can't watch my videos. He's like, dude, that does not sound like you at all. I can't stand it.
That's hilarious.
But I get that. And so what?
By the way, this is completely false for Kevin. Every time you call him on his cell phone, he picks it up and answers, "Vsauce, Kevin here," every single time.
I knew
and
it.
He's done that for 20 years, even before Vsauce existed. That's what's so weird.
That's where it came
it.
from. Okay, yeah. Interesting.
I have problems.
No, so what Annie said is that she kind of views her persona like a sculpture, and she's the artist. So she's always trying to be able to step back from the sculpture and see, how does this look? Does this work? Does that work? Do I have to reshape this thing or chisel off that thing? Because that is not her. And as long as she's stepped back from it, she can constantly evaluate it and see if it works or if it doesn't. Now, I say that to say this, my online presence and my videos and stuff, that is the image of myself that I'd like to put out in the world, right? Science guy, talking about factual stuff, maybe making you learn, making you laugh. That would be great. So the things that I choose to say or not say reflect back on that edifice. And so I wouldn't start talking or start arguing with some random person about very personal things, because that's not a part of that sculpture that I'm trying to build, right? So my personal and my professional communication style is completely different. And this is somewhere in between.
I had a minor argument on a panel once with Destin from Smarter Every Day over this exact same thing. But it's because Destin from Smarter Every Day is Destin. That
exactly.
is him. There is no persona with him. It's
close.
Just him with a camera.
Yeah.
There is like no line. If there's any veil, it's see-through and it's extremely thin.
I mean, Destin has interesting thoughts on a lot of things, and that's all I'll say about that. But even Destin, even people who seem very equivalent to their offline persona, even Destin knows what he's doing.
Sure.
I talked to him at like EduCon, wherever that was, whenever that was in the before times, and I said, because I like being an asshole, I'm like, "Hey, nice hat." That was the first thing I said when I met him, because I was just trying to be, kind of standoffish. And
he said, "Hey, great hair."
Yeah, I like to cultivate mystery. So I was like, "Hey, nice hat, sports fan." And he's like, "You know why I wear this hat, right? It's so I seem more approachable and more like an everyman. It's not necessarily because he loves wearing hats in every single thing that he does. It's because it's part of that sculpture he's building. So even him, he's aware of how he's presented and what he presents. And that's very important. And I think the best communicators do that the best. The people who are the best at that are very good at seeing how other people see them and playing to that.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I mean, people, and there's a spectrum of that too, right? I mean, the people who aren't very good at that can seem kind of flat, right? And the people who are too much of that can seem like they just got out of high school theater group. And both of those aren't great, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, that might be one of the secrets of being successful on YouTube that we haven't discussed on this podcast, is what you just outlined, which is successfully navigating and cultivating, evolving, sculpting, as the artist described, what that persona is over time as you get feedback as well. Because I could tell you the early feedback that I received from Vsauce fans was pretty harsh. You know, it was that I was boring and all. I mean, I am boring, but on camera I was also boring, which is a problem. So, you know, over time became kind of like crazier and crazier and more energetic and less boring.
Yeah. And one of the things about it is that I'm really allergic to becoming the kind of presenter or YouTuber, and I don't even like to be called a YouTuber, to be honest. I'm doing YouTube because it's the platform where I'm most successful at the moment, but I would be doing science education and communication wherever I could. This just happens to be a successful place. So I prefer just, you know, communicator or educator, what have you. But on YouTube specifically, I'm really worried and allergic to the idea of becoming like emotionally dependent or involved with a kind of community in a way that's like unhealthy. You know, you can, especially with some of these beauty vloggers and more lifestyle content creators, it does seem like it's more, in my opinion, they cross the line of bringing you into their lives a little too much, where, you know, they're talking about, you know, personal drama, or they're crying on the floor of their bathroom or whatever the hell it is. And, you know, I need you to make me feel happy, and I want to know why you're depressed and stressed out. Like, to me, that crosses an unhealthy line, and it's a negative feedback loop. And I don't want to be anywhere near that. So that's why I try very hard to create I'm the presenter, you're the audience kind of feeling. I'm not your friend. I mean, sorry, I don't even know you, right? I mean, we're not friends. We're not buddies. I don't want to be your buddy that you're never going to meet in your whole life. I'd rather be what I'm trying to do here, right? And I feel like if you're trying to be something that you can't, it ends up doing harm. So yeah, I guess I'm more of a traditionalist in that way. You know, I grew up with, as you mentioned, shows like Mythbusters and Bill Nye and Cosmos and stuff. I've always been striving towards getting at that kind of personality and presenting style, more so than taking advantage of the social media style, again, because it really rubs me the wrong way. And that's just me personally.
Do you think you've ever done any harm? Obviously unintentionally.
Good question.
But you've been around a long time now.
Good question.
I mean,
I've never been asked.
You've really been in the thick of things for almost a decade, and you know, we talked to
almost been
Marquez Brownlee about this. Yeah, you know, you're getting close there.
Yeah.
But you know, like Marquez, when you make 10 billion videos on tech stuff, have you 6 months down the line, did some phone or something explode in your pocket and you regretted the glowing review you made? Well, it's easy to be a little bit wrong about something or whatever. Do you think there's anything that you've had that happen with?
Well, my knee-jerk response would be, well, I hope if I was being as scientifically accurate as I think I was being, that I've done my job in giving people factual information and trying to educate, and therefore I don't think it would lead to any real harm. But I'm sure there's cases where I've misspoken about something or I said something publicly that was stupid. But yeah, that's a difficult question. I don't know. Well, what I was going to say is, right now, most of what I've done is the show Because Science, which I'm not at anymore. But that lended itself to, it was mostly superheroes and math and video games and physics and that kind of stuff. So like I was saying, with not being in your face about stuff, that's more basic, like, let's learn how to do what this equation looks like, or what does kinetic energy really mean? And so there wasn't a lot of opportunities for me to say or do something that I think would go on to be dangerously wrong or incorrect, right? Like, I'm talking about, how to punch someone into the sun. It's not like I'm saying, it's not like, if you put sugar on Tide Pods, I guess they would be good to eat. I'm not doing anything like that.
That sounds like a good video.
How to make Tide Pods edible with chemistry is a fantastic
recipe.
No, like what chemistry would you have to put into a Tide Pod to make it non-toxic?
Oh,
that's not a bad idea. Actually,
we just got a Nile Red or Michael Reeves video just now. I think
we
came up with
now
one.
That's interesting. Those guys are on the edge for me. Those guys are really on the edge for me, because coming, as you mentioned, coming from a show like Mythbusters and stuff like that, and if you've watched the show, and I can tell you now from experience, those guys, the old school media types, take safety so seriously. It would, if you saw anything on YouTube today, it would confuse you. Like if we were firing a potato cannon, like you put a potato inside of a PVC tube, you put some flammable gas, you spray it in at the bottom of the tube, you light it, the combustion, the expanding air forces the potato out, and it goes foomp. It's just a potato. If you were doing something like that in a large warehouse building, like the size of like the Vsauce offices, they would require everyone in the building to leave and walk across the street. Everyone.
Wow.
They'd leave remote cameras. You wouldn't be able to be in the building.
What?
Yes. And they do that because, as one of our directors, Steve Christensen, said, like, look, I bet that you know that this is safe and you think that it's safe, but if someone gets hurt or someone fucking dies, I'm going to jail, So they take it in. I mean, if you blew up, and you see stuff on Mythbusters all the time, blowing up a hunk of C4 or something like that, those shots are from a mile away in a bunker. A mile away. You can't even see it from where you're standing. And I can tell you from experience now. So back to my point, knowing that kind of outlook on safety and making sciencey, experimenty stuff, seeing the Michael Reeves and the backyard scientists and the William Osmonds of the world, it's on the edge for me. Yeah, it does seem like they're playing with fire. Like one of them is going to get seriously hurt at some point. Like they're showing things that if anyone else was doing it, they could get seriously hurt. I don't care if you're a super expert, you're showing it to millions and millions of people. I mean, they do good, they make good content. Like I would be the first to say that Michael Reeves makes some of the best YouTube style experiment videos I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I also think what he's doing is dangerous and he's not being safe enough. And it gives a bad impression of the kind of people that do that stuff that he's doing. So I don't know. That's hard. That's hard for me. It's the same thing with like animal YouTubers, like what the hell is his name? Like the Brave Wilderness guy, Cody Peterson.
Yeah.
Coyote Peterson.
Coyote.
Yeah. I think, did I say this to his face? I said this to somebody, but I was like, let me ask you this question. What would Steve Irwin think about what you're doing? And I don't think he would have a good answer. I don't think his answer would be nice. And that tells me everything I need to know, So I don't know. I know I'm taking a lot of shots right now, but communication and how you present stuff, I treat it like a science. I'm trying to be educational and safe and have an impact that's positive and not just take advantage of social media platforms, if that makes sense.
Years ago, and I mean like 9 or 10 years ago, I was cutting a tree that was sufficiently tall to be a potential problem when it came down. And it was it had the potential to fall on my parents' garage. There was about There's about a 10-foot wide kind of berth that it could fall in, because on the other side, then it was going to fall on another tree and probably get caught on that. And I don't have, the equipment to deal with a situation like that. So I really had to nail it. Spoiler, I did. But it's basically a vector problem, right? To figure out what angle you cut this tree at, given the estimation of forces. And I posted this on Facebook with like a little color-coded thing, like, here's what I aimed for, here's what the angle points to, whatever, here's the result of it. Sure. And somebody completely lit me up. I thought it was an interesting thing because most people don't have trees to cut down. They just don't live in places where they're ever going to do a thing like that. A lot of other people will never do it themselves. They would hire that out. Sure. And I was just kind of, killing time on it. I was like, oh, this is cool. And here's how it's not just, like rev up the saw and cross your fingers. There's a little bit of a science to this. Somebody lit me up for that, about how basically I was giving just enough information to somebody to hurt themselves. Not enough to, to do it right. Like I might
with a tree.
Well, that I might, somebody might look at that and be inspired to cut down a tree and get it wrong. And it, lands on their car or their dog or whatever the hell it is. And I thought, man, that was the first time I really felt like I couldn't post anything online without getting a hard time for it. And so I'm kind of caught in the middle where I do think that, yes, the video about, an electric fence, like shocking your balls, is very entertaining, but might be dangerous in some capacity versus, it's cool. And if you shock your balls with an electric fence on purpose, that's kind of on you.
Yeah. In your case, I would say that there's also, just the magnitude of what you're doing. If you're posting on your personal Facebook to your friends and stuff, again, the decision's complicated, but it becomes less complicated if you were, say, again, making a video that goes out to 20 million people. And that's when the line for me becomes easier, right? If you were to take a weird example from like the Backyard Scientist or something like that, if you were pouring like molten salt into an aquarium and it explodes and you have zero safety equipment, by the way, maybe some eye protection, and you post that to your personal Facebook with 500 friends or something like that, that is very different than becoming a millionaire off of those videos. And that gets complicated,
Is it one of those things where it's
like literally these people are millionaires? You at home, you listening should know this. These your favorite people that are very big. This isn't just nonsense that they're doing. They're making a very good living doing this. And so it gets complicated, right?
Yeah, but I think of the quote, the Justice Potter Stewart quote, Supreme Court Justice, especially for the people outside the U.S. There was a case in the 60s about what constituted hardcore pornography. And his definition was essentially that he didn't know what constituted hardcore pornography, but he knew it when he saw it.
He knows it when he saw it.
Well, then where's that line on, is there something between guy in his backyard with a chainsaw and it's okay versus I'm going to get $20,000 in, ad revenue and sponsorship
That's a pretty good
for this
video,
video, and that makes it not okay. Yeah. I mean, it would be fine, but
if you have a large audience and you're showing them something that is potentially dangerous, I think you have a responsibility to either tell them everything that you're doing and how you're doing it and why it's going to be safe, or show them with protection, with all your bases covered, or else, yeah. I mean, if YouTube is the new television, I mean, these kids don't have a medic in their backyard watching. On Mythbusters, there was a bomb tech, there was a medic on site every single day. There was bulletproof plexiglass everywhere. It was a serious thing. I don't know. Maybe I'd be interested to hear from your audience. Honestly, do I sound like a fuddy-duddy old media type? I don't know. I don't know. It's just, for the way I'm seeing it, when you have a large audience, And that's why I get on people's cases sometimes. And when you have a large audience and you say potentially something harmful, I think you should be held accountable for that. But free speech,
we did
man.
Ask them what we did. We have had Osmond and Reeves both on TCU.
Yeah. And I know both of those guys. I like William a lot.
We asked them about this. I mean, I remember asking them explicitly about this. The dangers of, I brought up the Beavis and Butthead thing where a million years ago, some kid burned down his trailer and the mom tried to sue MTV because he learned it from Beavis and Butthead. So
what did they say? Do you remember?
It was something along the lines of like, if you are into these things enough to know how to do them, then you know how to do it safely. It was something along those lines.
It's a weak argument in my opinion, but it's not a bad argument. I mean, the stuff that like Reeves does with robots and programming and stuff, you do have to.
It's so hard.
You probably have to have a degree to know what he's doing to make a knife robot. Like, not everyone can just do that. So I see it. I see the argument. I think what my counterpoint would be is what I think people really like about that kind of content is the attitude. Not exactly what they're doing, but the attitude of, I'm going to fuck around and find out. This might be dangerous. I don't know what's going to happen. Watch this crazy thing I can do with my education. If you look at Michael Reese's subreddit, for example, or even his Twitter bio, he says he's chaotic brain dead. He's leaning into the fact that he's a mad scientist crazy person. He's again, to our sculpture analogy, he is knowingly cultivating that. He is getting hundreds of thousands of dollars to post videos, sometimes single videos,
but
showing knife robots.
How is what he is doing not like a sciencey version of something like Jackass?
Well, I would say, do you know how many? Let's take a wild guess on how many people hurt themselves after watching Jackass.
I don't know. Probably a lot.
It's going to be.
I have no idea.
I would argue it's probably more than 5.
But you watch Jackass and you see somebody like go down a hill on a shopping cart. That's way easier to do than build a surgical robot.
And I would agree that
was on mainstream television.
That's true. That's true. They did have disclaimers at the top of every episode, which these videos we're talking about do not.
Right.
But I would also counter with, these guys are ostensibly morons. Or they don't care, or they're cultivating a personality of, we're kind of idiots. Let's
the Jackass guys.
Yeah, let's hurt ourselves.
It's in the name.
Yeah, they're jackasses.
Jackass.
Yeah, they aren't hiding it, are they?
No, they're not. But that, I would argue, runs actively counterpoint to if you're trying to educate and entertain and be a science guy or a science gal kind of type, a public intellectual. That runs counterpoint to what would be good practice as a sciencey type, as a scientist, that those two things don't mix well and shouldn't mix. In my opinion, but I don't know how I sound to your audience when I say that kind of thing. But as an educator,
does somebody have?
Go ahead.
Have to exercise personal responsibility though, because I haven't ridden down a hill in a shopping cart.
I did a lot of Jackass stuff with my brother, man.
Happen.
I did a lot of stupid shit after seeing that show.
Was it the show's fault or was it your bad judgment? That's my question, because that was a case where I did exercise good judgment.
Sure.
I don't when it comes to diet and exercise,
but the show made it.
I do when it comes to shopping carts.
The show made it look very attractive and cool and popular and fun. I never went out after watching Mythbusters
because
and
I
tried
eat like
to.
A pig?
I never tried to blow something up after watching Mythbusters. They didn't make it look like, whoa, crazy. Let's make a C4 robot. No, it was always safety first at the front of everything that they did. They gave screen time to FBI agents. They made the truly dangerous seem dangerous, but we still enjoyed it. That's the difference to me. I don't know. If you want to see the perfect, and I don't know how we got off on this train for an hour, but if you want to see the perfect encapsulation of this, get Alan Pan and me in the same room, and we just yell at each other for like the entire time about this kind of stuff. He's the gas in our relationship and I'm the brakes. He's always, it's a different mentality, I guess it comes down to, where he's always wanting to push the boundaries and do something a little bit crazy, a little bit out there. And I'm always, is this safe?
He literally turned himself into a Tesla coil recently.
He did.
With the samurai sword. So I would say.
And that was pretty damn cool.
It was extremely cool.
So what you're saying is that you.
But notice he was doing that with a suit on.
The Search.
Well, he did have a protective suit on. He wasn't just doing that.
Yes.
I'm sorry. What'd you say, Matt?
Oh, I said, so what you're saying is that you rigged the results of Mythbusters The Search to keep down Alan Pan for all of our safety.
Oh.
Yes. That's
the conspiracy that I've invented right now.
And I hope he's listening to this. He's way too dangerous to be in the public sphere.
That's right.
I saw him the other week. We're friends. We're good friends. That's
fine. Can I switch topics for
Please,
a second?
I feel like I've been
to...
sounding like a total asshole this whole time.
All right,
it's an important perspective though, because we have talked to a lot of people like Alan and Michael and William and these guys who are like,
push the envelope
I can't wait
don't care.
Yeah, to like make, like freeze ice cubes or like out of gasoline and swallow it and then see what it feels like to pee it out. Like that's funny and that's,
that's
good when that stuff comes
insane.
Up. But we got to hear the next, we got to hear the other side of that. So it's
crazy.
Absolutely valid.
That is.
He just made that up. They didn't really say that.
No, but
I made that.
But
up.
he says stuff like that to me.
Well, it is funny.
What was the actually his latest idea? I can't even tell you guys. It's so I can't even tell you what it is. But it involves experimenting with Riley Reid.
Oh no.
That's all I'll say.
Well, look here. I'm glad
you know.
I'm glad, Matt, that you made that distinction because it is important. It's nice to get a new perspective on the like the laser beam blow everything up of the world.
Sure.
But let me switch topics to.
And I know the kid you're talking about when you say the laser beam stuff. It's that one kid. It's that one kid in like Canada or wherever he is. He's very intelligent, but crazy. Anyway, please. I don't want to keep just talking people.
It's a fine line anyway.
It is.
But I want to talk about superheroes because you built an online career talking about superheroes and quote unquote nerdy stuff at a time when it was nerdy still.
Remember that?
It was like, it was on the cusp of really crashing through the mainstream and not being nerdy anymore.
Yeah, there was a period. I even know the exact dates of the period. It's like, I'd say it was like between 2013 and November 6th, 2016. That's when everything stopped being funny.
Well, my question is, now that stuff's not nerdy anymore, do you find that weird? Because that's all, it's not like, it's okay. The way I was thinking about this earlier today is that it's not like superhero stuff was nerdy and now it's acceptable. Superhero stuff was nerdy and now that's all that exists.
Sure.
We're in this bizarre pop culture moment where there's almost nothing else that everybody watches and understands like across the mainstream.
Yeah. You see the market
stuff.
Yeah, you see the market respond to it. I mean, these movies singularly make billions of dollars, and so the rest of the marketplace is saying like, well, let's get a piece of that. And so that's what you see saturating the market until there's nothing else. It's going to become unpopular, and then something else is going to happen. And then, I mean, you see what happened to Game of Thrones and Star Wars and stuff like these, where these had the most success of anything in human history ever. Like since like cave paintings, these were the zenith of human media, and then they almost erased themselves from existence. Star Wars less so, but I mean, remember when Game of Thrones like immolated itself in public, and then it just dropped off the face of the earth, and no one cared about it anymore.
No one talks about it.
That I'd love to read a book on that. Like it was like the biggest quote unquote best show of all time, and then it just evaporated. So it's so weird. But to what you're saying, me personally, I'm superheroed out, man. Like, and I still, like you said, I did build my career talking about superheroes and pop culture and video games and all that kind of stuff. But and I still get.
I noticed that though. I look at your channel and I'm not seeing superhero stuff anymore. So that's why I wanted to talk to you about it.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. It's a combination of things. I mean, especially right now in the last couple of years, things just seem too serious and too dire in a lot of ways to really get for me personally to get excited about some of these things and really escape in them. And I mean, just honestly, I've talked in 5 years of doing Because Science in like 254 weeks straight without missing a single week of doing some superhero science or what have you thing. I've talked about pretty much everything that I've ever wondered about in terms of superheroes and stuff. Like there's very little that I'm still like, that would make a fun video or that would be interesting. And in today's age, it's different from 5 years ago. There's so many different sources of this stuff now that as a creator, I'm not always sure something would do well because now everything is niche, right? So when I see like Invincible come out on Amazon, this, subversive superhero show, it's hyper violent and realistic and stuff. I know that show's A, very good and people like it a lot, B, but if I spent 2 weeks of production time doing something about that, would it do well? Would it do well as making like a Last Jedi video a couple years ago? Probably not. So like the society and media has become so fragmentized over the last couple of years. It's hard as a creator to know what to focus your time on. And that has real consequences, right? You don't make as much money, or you have to take a week off, or yada, yada, yada. So, I think it stresses me out trying to pick like a new pop culture thing because I never know. It seems like everything is popular one week and then falls off the face of the fucking earth the next one. So it's hard.
Yeah. We work with, and are good friends with a guy who does like economics videos. That's largely tied around pop culture and TV shows and stuff like this. And there have been a
lot of superhero movies too.
A lot of superhero movies, but there have been instances, especially a couple lately, where I've literally never even heard of the shows he's basing this lesson around. It's like, not only did I not watch that, I didn't know it existed.
Yeah.
And I don't know where to watch it. Even if I wanted to try to find it, I would have to like Google it to see what streaming platform the thing is on. So you're right. Everything is so fractured.
And now, and you know this, I mean, if you've never even heard of it,
we all have seen,
you know this very well. If you've never even heard of it, chances are your CTR, your click-through rate on something like your YouTube thumbnail and title is going to be probably low, which means impressions are going to be low, which means in the first 3 days, it's not going to do well, which means it's going to get buried, which means you're going to feel bad for the rest of the week and not make the money that you were counting on. So it's, it's hard out there, man. It's a weird look. I make no mistake. I'm very privileged. I'm very lucky. I've had some amount of success in this space. And so I'm eternally grateful for that. But it's such a weird career and such a weird way to make a living. And so pressed upon an individual's shoulders that it's a different calculus for things that I want to do. Right. It's different when I was at Nerdist, for example, where if I did a video and it did well, it's Nerdist's video that did well. It's not me personally. Right. And I mean, I do well by proxy, but it wasn't the same thing as if I was all alone in my own channel, my own brand and all that kind of stuff. So it's a weird time. And I like the stuff that Vsauce is doing, for example, with your listeners can't see, I'm wearing one of your shirts from the Curiosity boxes, which I understand have been extremely successful. And I think that's really smart. And I like the way that you're diversifying what you're doing. I think that's really the way forward to take advantage of these niche markets and really deliver that's highly specialized content to the people who want it the most. Because I don't think there's like a single public square anymore where everybody tomorrow is going to be talking about the Seinfeld finale. That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I mean, some of us remember the days when there was an actual knob on the television.
Yeah, I got to turn it to channel 3 so I can play my video games, dude.
Yeah, and it probably only goes up to 13, and that's fine because there are only like 10 or 12 channels anyway.
Yeah.
And now, like, you know, I don't know what it's called, Pluto, something like that. One of the things on the Roku service.
I don't even know how those work.
I
honestly
like
don't.
For single shows.
Yeah.
It'll like show reruns of like Taxi from the 80s.
Right.
And that's all the channel shows. There's like a Gunsmoke channel that shows.
Yeah, because some executive somewhere was like, do you know how much it would cost to license all these shows? Do it.
Yeah, and then they just put it on that one channel, and it's this hyper specialization with hundreds and hundreds of options. Like that thing, when I load it up, it has something like 600 or 700 channels on it, and that's just the ones in English. So comparing that, where if there's a show you like, you can watch it for 24 hours on loop, versus you know, there aren't that many things to watch, and you kind of choose the best of a very limited supply.
I would say, I mean, the hyper specialization does have some benefits too, of course. I mean, if you do, a single person, a single creator can make a total living off of not that many very excited people. So, you know, if you have a large audience, some small fraction of them are going to be the most dedicated to what you're doing. And if you have a subscription service, or you do something like Patreon or YouTube memberships or what have you, you don't need that many people until you're making a living and you're doing exactly what you want to do. That's a very cool and very interesting space, right? But it's very rarefied, and there's not many people who can do it. So I'm not saying there isn't benefits. And, you know, me as a educator, I have complete creative control. I can do whatever I want when I want to do it. And not everyone gets to do that in their lives. So we're very lucky, but it's a weird space to navigate.
What before we transition into Patreon questions, I really want to know what the pros and cons for you have been from being at Nerdist to being independent.
I will say some of these are going to be legally, I can't say.
Okay.
And
just use pig Latin.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, me saying that that's what got you? He's shooting coke out of his nose, listeners.
Oh my God. The coke.
I don't know why that's so funny to me.
I don't know. Why did that just got you?
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe because I haven't heard someone say the words pig Latin in maybe 10 years. Maybe that's why it's funny.
You know, instantly I thought of like Better Call Saul, where that's like a defense that he would use in court in like season 1.
So like I said, some of what I can say about me being at Nerdist or not, I can't legally comment on, and that should tell you something if you're clever. But the main differences between being a salaried employee at a large company and being completely on your own, in terms of like creative and safety net wise and all that kind of thing. Obviously the stress levels are totally different. You know, just being, and this applies to freelance, just freelance in general, right? Buying your own insurance and trying to get the next gig and doing that kind of thing. So what I'll say about Nerdist is that I was unbelievably lucky to have met Chris Hardwick the way that I did, which was completely happenstantial. I met him at a birthday party for Nathan Fillion, and I saw him, and I elevator pitched him. I was like, hey, I know exactly what I said too. I walked up to him. I said, I bet I could explain to you how the Walking Dead virus works. And this was at the zenith of Walking Dead popularity too, 2014, 2015. And he's like, I need someone sciencey to be an editor at my website. And like 2 weeks later, I moved to Los Angeles. So it was very happenstantial and lucky. It's not like I'm the smartest guy in the world or anything like that. Definitely not. I was very lucky to get into nerd culture and sciencey stuff at that time when it was the most popular, to get into a company that was about to skyrocket in popularity, and get the opportunities that I did, and, you know, have a large company basically underneath me, so that if a video did literally 0 views, it's not like it didn't affect me as much as it would a singular person, right? And I had all of their infrastructure, their people, their, sound stages and cameras and all that stuff. And I became who I am through that opportunity. So I wouldn't be who I am today without it. But having left Nerdist about 18 months ago now, what I'll say is it's nice. For years, I've had ideas on how to take things to the next level personally. And I've, you look at the success of other things like Critical Role is a great example of what I'm talking about, combining some sort of narrative with a business model with what you're trying to do. So I've had an idea of trying to make something that's a little bit more engaging, still educational, but has some through line that people would be able to connect with and they might even want to be a part of. So that's now why I have this place I call the Facility, which has multiple wings, a narrative throughput. I have my own professors and security team and interns and all this stuff. And it gives people, in my mind, it gives people a way to engage with me and with what I create in a different way, in a way that's a little bit stickier in the mind, if you will. And being able to execute that kind of grander idea beyond me just talking about superheroes with markers, that's been very fulfilling to me. To do that and to see it have some amount of success is really cool. And now I can explore things on, playing video games on Twitch and doing podcasts and merchandising, personal stuff. And it's been I'm not going to lie, switching over to my own stuff was literally the most stressful, hardest thing that I've ever done. You ask anyone in my life, I was tearing my hair out. Not really. It's too pretty. For like 6 months. I was at the point where I had to go on medication because I was freaking out constantly. Panic attacks 24/7. So I was super stressed out that I was going to leave and I'd be on the fucking street, but
how are you now?
Oh, I'm fine. Don't worry about me now. Again, I'm lucky that through what I've done and the people that have liked what I've done, we've created a little community and a support structure, especially through Patreon, hundreds and hundreds of people coming and showing that they support what I do and how I do it. And, I was so worried, but the YouTube channel got 100,000 subscribers in 36 hours or whatever it was. So I could tell that people wanted to continue to see what I was doing, not necessarily what the show I was doing was. Right.
Which is a big distinction to make.
And
sure.
And that's always what's, I'd say that's the one base thing I've always tried to be good about is Kyle separate from what I'm doing. Because if you have to look at my dumb face for 15 minutes and I'm going to yell at you about science stuff, I better be interesting and entertaining. So I've always tried to distinguish myself and what I'm doing apart from what I'm saying or the equations or the superheroes or whatever. And so to have people coming to support me as a person and how I view things and how I do things, it's been, like I said, I'm good now. And it's been, I've been very humbled by the messages that I've gotten and what we've been doing. We're going to be at around 1 million subscribers on YouTube at about the same amount of time that Because Science was when we launched that channel back with Nerdist. So, very, very honored and the North Star for me in terms of everything that I'm doing. I've been asked this enough times that I have a crystallized answer for it, but no matter where it is and what it is, I just want to do something or some sequence of things that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever it is, some kid comes up to me and says, I became a doctor, I became a scientist, engineer, physicist, artist, whatever the hell it is, because of what you did or that thing that you did. It really inspired me. And I want to do that because that's the exact same thing I said to Adam Savage when I was lucky enough to meet him, and Bill Nye, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I want to have that impact if I can. And that's what drives me. It's not money. It's not being trending or anything like that. It is years from now, if some kid was like, you helped me get through school, or you taught me this or that's what it's all about. Matt, Kevin, we're too old to save the world. The world's in a bad. The world's in a bad spot. We need young people to figure this shit out. So if I can be a part of them doing that, that's what I want. That's what I want to be.
This happens all the time though, where it's like, this, we are the future, we're the next generation. Like, why is this one going to get it right? Why is this one so special? Whereas,
well, it's not so much that it is special. It's that I need them to be special, and we need them to be special. We don't have many generations left to figure out the biggest problems that we're facing. So it's
I don't want them to do anything. I don't want them to touch anything. If I think about the boners I know,
gotta do like something.
18,
can't keep doing what we're doing.
Who should be in charge?
We just can't.
Who should be in charge? Them or me, who has like 20 years of professional experience? Who's in a better spot to make good decisions? The kid doing whippets and
but by 2150, you will have been dead for 125 years because, like we said, diabetes, and you're not going to make it.
Aren't going to be around either.
That's right.
You're not going to be. Right. You're definitely not going to be around much longer. But 100 years from now, you will have been dead for 95 years, like I said. But they will still, the climate and the geopolitical situation that we're in, they are going to be dealing with it. So I'm not an optimistic person, but I am forced to be.
If they're going to reap benefits of getting it better, like why do I have to do things?
You're sounding dangerously close to like a climate change denier to me. Hey, if I'm not going to be around, why do I care what air I got to breathe, huh?
No, that's really the kind of.
If you're a human being, I say, if you don't feel any moral obligation to fellow conscious creatures, then I would judge your opinion to be immoral and irresponsible. Would be, I mean, at the base level, I mean, you can think and you can do whatever you want to do, but in terms of solving problems and advancing forward, there are opinions that we can ignore.
Who decides which ones should be ignored?
You're getting you're getting into deep territory. It gets obviously,
but all of this stuff exists in deep territory.
You just gave me the syllabus for an entire bioethics course. Like, who decides?
But it's way beyond science, though. Like, it's generally, a thing about whether people behave rationally or not, and like how they factor in self-interest to what degree,
sure.
and what the
and your economist friends would tell you that is a very difficult thing to answer in the first place.
Yeah, no, it's a thing that is pervasive in virtually every issue. And that's what makes it so interesting, sure. Because it can be something as personal as like, what should I do with my paycheck? Well, I'm probably in a better position to decide how that's going to improve my life and the lives around me, as opposed to, like outsourcing it to the episode chat. But then, there are other questions where I am probably not in the best position.
If I was to give you one answer that kind of guides me on these issues, it's that is what I'm saying or doing on the pathway towards, or actually trying to maximize the well-being of other conscious creatures? And if it's not in some way, then there's an argument that maybe that's not the best thing to be doing. So when you talk about what's the best way to spend your money, for example, there is, as you're saying, there is a good moral argument to say that, yeah, you should probably be giving 5% of your paycheck to pay for mosquito nets. That's a good moral argument. And there's an entire community around this. It's called effective altruism, who give like 10 to 50% of their lifetime earnings to the scientifically proven best way to maximize human life, whether that is, childbirth or bringing people out of poverty or whatnot. So in my mind, there are ways to rigorously and even statistically sometimes answer these questions. And I'm not calling you out, but I don't think it's always useful to kind of throw our hands up in the air for everything, because I do think there are areas that we do know things about, and how to lower child mortality rates, and what is the best way to spend money on healthcare, and what charity should I give to? These are things that we can start to have data on and answer, I think. This is look, I'm gonna tell you, this has been a wild podcast. We have gone in a lot of weird directions. I hope the chat is enjoying it, because I've never been asked these questions before on stuff like this.
This is what we do.
This is what we do.
This is what the Create Unknown is all about. We'd like to think of ourselves as highly analytical and hopelessly stupid. So I hope that you feel like we have towed the line between those two things.
Yeah,
that's where we like to live.
That's why you had That's why you had Alan on.
Hey,
what's he gonna do? Come at me, bro.
I don't know. He's got a lot of homemade weapons.
He does. He had me. He had me shoot him in the stomach with a electrified Nerf dart once. That was fun.
I believe that. I believe that.
It was pretty cool engineering design. But.
He built me an electrified Snakes and Ladders board game in like 5 days notice from the other side of the country.
Oh,
shipped it to me.
Yeah,
he's amazing.
No one would ever say he's not a very intelligent guy.
He's a genius. Matt, do we have questions for Kyle from our patrons?
Yeah, we've got a couple, but I want to ask one that is
I want to ask what you think about abortion.
Sciencey.
Finally, we get to the real question, Kyle.
That's right.
Jeez.
No, so you've covered science stuff in virtually every movie that's mattered, and you talked about yeah, that's true, and you talked about Game of Thrones having this disappearing act.
What a weird thing.
So something that has always I've never understood this is how Avatar, which was the biggest thing in the world at the time, had a huge kind of science environmental component in terms of how it made people talk about the movie.
Sure.
This was the most important thing of that year.
I remember.
And then, oh my God, it's like there was like a law against it. Like it became, Voldemort, where you couldn't mention this movie. The legacy on that, it's not something where I see people tweet, I watch this a couple times a year. I stop every time this is on, the way they do with like Lord of the Rings.
Sure.
Why is that movie so different than some of the other things that were absolute blockbusters and still have a shelf life?
If I was giving my honest, non-sciencey answer to that, I would guess that because I saw this in theaters too when it came out, and it did feel like it changed my life as well, even though that's a stupid thing to say. But, like seeing their first 3D movie like that, I was blown away. I remember my dad and I came out of it, and I remember the exact sentence he said. He said, wow, it's now like my life is pre-Avatar and post-Avatar. And a lot of people felt that.
Yeah.
But if I was giving my ethnographic analysis or my anthropology style answer, it was probably because when that came out, I was of a certain age where the internet and social media as it exists today certainly did not exist then. And I'm guessing that the rise of franchises and movie universes and stuff now, that really came into being as the modern internet 2.0 and social media did. I think Avatar missed the boat, which is a fun Titanic joke because of James Cameron. I think kind of Avatar missed the boat in terms of becoming a real cultural phenomenon because social media wasn't there in the same way. It didn't have multiple Twitter accounts talking about it every single day and all these different communities and Discord and cinematic universes and whatnot. It tried to do that after the fact, after Marvel started doing it. And I think people were then questioning it. Right. That would be my guess. And this kind of a similar question to you. I have this question every once in a while. Why is SpongeBob the most memed thing ever? And I don't think that's even arguable. Like almost every frame from SpongeBob is a meme. And people our age, I'm 32 32. It's been a long lockdown. I think I'm 32. People our age talk to each other through these memes, SpongeBob memes specifically. And I get them and I love them. I think similarly, it's because SpongeBob came into being and was wildly popular at the exact same time it was popular with the kids of the ages who would grow up into the first internet generation, which is us, right? So I think those cartoons and those shows represent some deep cultural imprint, which is why they're so universal to all of us who use the internet the most, right? And that will be phased out in a couple of years from the TikTokers and stuff, the younger kids. But I always thought that was interesting, why it had such universal internet applicability. And I think it's because we were of the perfect age to be hit by it and then be the first heavy users of the internet.
Yeah, I wonder if SpongeBob was one of the last shows that everybody watched.
Yeah.
Because we were talking, earlier
only
about
when it was channel 54
fractures.
or whatever it was. Yeah.
Right. So it'll be hard to recreate that with anything if everybody just watches whatever they watch.
Yeah.
And there's no singular thing that everybody's watching.
I have a similar question that I've asked my my friends, like, why in the young black community, why is old Dragon Ball Z episodes a similar template, where the idea of Dragon Ball Z and Goku and anime in that way, has it such a cultural heavy imprint in that community? It's another interesting, I think the rise of the internet and the singularity of TV, I think that has something to do with it too. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting cases like that.
Well, I'm excited to see what happens when Avatar 2 comes out, which I think now is slated for next December.
Man.
It was supposed to be a while ago and then, got delayed for so many reasons. But I looked it up recently and I thought, well, okay, so this weird thing has happened with the legacy of that movie and how it's kind of disappeared. What's going to happen when the sequel comes out? Are people going to, explode and go back to that excitement that they had before? Are they going to not care so much? It's just
that seems impossible, doesn't it?
A weird one.
It just seems impossible for it to be that popular again. I just don't think it can be.
Yeah,
there's no way. The underlying question before that is are movies and movie theaters even going to really come back? I think that's an open question.
Yeah,
I have no interest personally. Who knows, man? I mean, especially in this country where we've been so bad with our pandemic response.
I didn't like going to the theater regardless of the pandemic. The last time I went to the theater, I saw Blade Runner 2049 with 4 people. That sounds great. Sorry. No. I saw it by myself.
That sounds even better.
4 other people in the audience. 2 of them were on a date, and one of the girls' phone was just going off the entire time.
Oh, fuck.
And then somebody else had some sort of sinus infection, and they were just like hawking loogies the entire time. And I was like,
just ruin it.
You know what? Yeah. It's a beautiful film. And then as we're leaving, as if I knew these people, one guy just says to the other, well, that was long. And that was his review. I was like, you know what? This experience is not good.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said for experiencing the sound and the size and stuff like that of certain movies. But yeah, it may be in a similar way that I just saw a statistic the other day, like 60% of Americans are looking for a different job now that they found out they could work from home a lot of the time. And it wasn't essential to go into an office. I wonder how many people are going to say like, no, I have to see this in the theater. Do you know how much a big TV is now? A 75-inch TV is $1,000.
Nearly as much as it used to be.
Cheap.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, that's not that bad.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, we do have real patron questions.
Hit me.
Which, sorry to hijack that, but this is the privilege you get when you do the podcast. You can just push all those others to the side and ask the one thing that you've been thinking about.
I feel honored.
Regardless if anybody else cares. So Dan the Latch has a straight up science question. What would happen if he put his head in and out of a particle accelerator, but very, very quickly?
So I think he probably saw my episode on this, which is why he's asking it. But there's a guy named Anatoly Burgoski, and this happened to him in a particle accelerator underneath Russia. He thought that the particle accelerator was turned off, A particle accelerator, for those not in the know, is basically a very long tube in a circle, and it's evacuated of air. It's a vacuum, and in its place, you put little particles like protons, and you fling those around this tube at very high speeds with magnets. The magnets gives them some propelling force, and you smash these particles together, and you see what happens at extremely high energies. Just so happens that extremely high energy particles can also smash into the cells of your body. And when that happens, molecules get ripped apart, atoms lose their electrons. And when the underlying atomic structure of your body changes, cells can die, cancer can start, you can be obliterated. So if you were to put your head in a particle accelerator, even very quickly, because these protons and particles are going around these rings at literally only 3 meters per second below the speed of light, nearly light speed, you will not be able to dodge these things, of course. And those particles will bury themselves in your body, deposit the majority of their energy. Oh, no, that's not true. So the reason why this guy survived, who it actually happened to, the particles mostly passed through him without depositing the majority of their energy. Still, he was lucky on the path that they took. His head was swollen. He lost hearing. Half of his face was paralyzed. If the particle beam had hit him somewhere else, like in the brainstem or something like that, he probably would have died. So he was very lucky. But if you stuck your head in a particle accelerator, you're either going to be severely damaged or you're going to die. Don't do it.
Well, I dispute the fact that there's nobody who can, who isn't fast enough to pull their head back out. You only said 3 meters. Like somebody can get close enough to light to just jump in and jump out.
Yeah.
That seems plausible.
Maybe the flesh.
So another video that you made somewhat recently, I want to say it was like a week ago, was a tier list of science YouTube people.
That was an experiment. And I was deciding, like, maybe I should do a joke video. I don't know. I was just trying it out.
Well, Michael Stevens, Vsauce, was B tier in that video.
Sure.
And the question that came in is where do Vsauce 2 and Vsauce 3 land on this tier list?
Oh, they got to be higher. Right.
And I think Alan Pan was F tier. Is that right?
Well,
Am I remembering that right?
Because I eliminated him on Mythbusters the search, I can also eliminate him in the tier list. He obviously can't. He can't hack it. Like, why? You lost. I've been watching a lot of Video Game Donkey, and I wanted to try a tier list video in an educational space because I thought it'd be funny. I thought the juxtaposition of people who talk about objective things for a living would with a very subjective joke list in a weird accent, I thought that'd be funny, so I did it. But in all honesty, Vsauce and the boys have created an educational empire unlike anything else on the internet, and I mean, it's hard to do better and do more good than what they've done. So I mean, I told people to message me for my actual tier list, and I did make one because I was like, okay, who has the most impact and is the most creative and interesting to me, and is good on camera and all that sort of stuff. I didn't actually post it anywhere because I didn't want to be a dick. Like, why was I D and not? But Vsauce, all Vsauce content is all the way up there. I mean, it's hard to do. Like I said, it's hard to do better. The influence, if you look around, the influence alone of how people talk in science videos, how they frame themselves, how they show text, Michael more or less like trademarked rising up into frame, it's a weird thing, but the influence is huge. Vsauce is like the Black Sabbath of science.
What has Michael bitten the head off? That's what I want.
His beard?
I don't know.
No.
Can I be Tony Iommi? I would be happy with that. I guess Jake is Geezer Butler. I don't know.
Glue your fingertips back on.
That's right. That's metal.
Yeah.
When you have no fingertips and you can still shred the guitar.
No, but the through line of science educators from Vsauce and stuff it's pretty easy to draw, in my opinion.
Well, back to you on this. Gusau's got a question about your deep, dark secrets. He wants to know if you're secretly a Viking. First of all, But since you mentioned, having the difference between actual Kyle Hill and online persona Kyle Hill, what is a thing that you don't express in the online persona that is an important part of Kyle Hill in reality?
Well, first of all, no, I'm not technically a Viking. I think the majority of my genetic makeup, according to 23andMe, is like Northern Ireland. So not a Viking. I just I grew my hair out after seeing The Winter Soldier, and then I kept going, and then Thor came out, and I kept going, and as my videos were getting more popular, it started to become kind of a thing, like a science Thor kind of thing. And so now it's even to the point where my agents are like, yeah, don't cut your hair. It's like there's a lot of skinny white guys on the internet talking about science. And if I was clean cut and shaven and all that, I would just be, Hank Green or whatever. So again, that's part of the sculpting, right? I'm intentionally looking different so that it's kind of like, hey, this guy, no one can argue that I don't look like a scientist, a typical scientist. So I use that to my advantage. But to answer your second question in a little bit more serious way, a couple months ago, I decided it was finally time to quote unquote come out about being on the autism spectrum. And
oh, that's right. You made the video. It has about 1 million views at this point.
And a lot of people were helped. They told me that they were helped, and it was very helpful for them to see someone like me talk about my experience and whatnot. But I say that so the difference between performing me and how I say my lines and how I write my scripts, and I write all my scripts, I do all my math, all my research, where the jokes go, what animations happen. I do that all personally and by hand. Well, I could show you, but no one's going to be able to see it. That me is very different. And I've spent a lot of years coming up with my own coping mechanisms, being someone on the spectrum, trying to learn more about myself and what do I need to change? What don't I have to change? I mean, just personally, if you ever met me anywhere, I'm in a corner just doing my own thing. I don't really talk to people. I don't go places. I literally don't remember a single person's name from college. And I went to college for 6 years. And it's because I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't go to a single college party. I didn't do anything. I kept to myself. And maybe that's like default state, how I want to be. And I think there's a juxtaposition there between that kind of story and who you see talking about, Thanos's butt or whatever. It doesn't seem that way. Right. And that's intentional to me. That's intentional on my part. Because the Kyle who doesn't want to even like show his face that much, that's a completely different thing. But because, the follow-up question is, then why are you doing what you're doing? Because I feel like I've stumbled into something that I'm good at, that I actually feel like I do well. I feel obligated to be the best teacher that I can for people who don't get good teachers. I was really lucky to get great teachers at every level, from 8th grade science class and Mr. Deginski up through college, up through my master's degree advisors. Everyone was awesome. Not every kid gets that. So if I can be that for a kid, I should. And so even though it's difficult sometimes, even though it's painful and makes me anxious and all that kind of stuff, I do it because I feel like it's valuable. Maybe.
Yeah, that's maybe. Great. I definitely am one of those kids who didn't have a whole lot of great teachers. So.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate. I was super lucky. But I figure if kids are going to YouTube to like when I was extra excited by something, my teacher would have to give it to me, right? Like, oh, I'll show you here's some extra information, or here's an extra homework thing, or you should check this out, or here's a CD-ROM or what have you. CD-ROM is like a physical disc that things are on, that lasers read. But like kids today go to the internet, right? So go to where they're looking, I guess, is my idea, which is why probably, us YouTube-y kind of types aren't making a huge push to be in traditional television either, right? That's not where the eyeballs are. You're telling me that I have to work for 6 months to be seen by 500,000 people an episode, maybe, and get paid less? That's
Right.
not a winning argument, you know?
It's a weird proposition. Yeah.
That's what I always thought about Michael specifically. I was like, why isn't Michael Stevens on television? Why isn't he doing like a Cosmos kind of route? And I mean, the math is pretty simple on that. It's like you can have your complete own schedule, you can have your entire own business and get more eyeballs on what you're making by not doing that.
And reach a lot more people.
You know? Yeah, and reach a lot more people. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Andre APM doesn't believe you.
Oh yeah.
About I'd say that conservative approach to safety and
oh yeah,
you know, he thinks that you are secretly a mad scientist, villainous type.
How dare you?
I'm inclined to agree with him. I think this is all a ruse, that there's something deep and dark, and there are plans for world domination. When are you going to reveal that? That's his question.
I mean, probably the truth of the matter is that because I have an engineering degree, but because I didn't spend time in the engineering industry, I can't really build anything. And maybe I would be one of those guys if I could. Who knows? But in terms of being possibly a supervillain, Mr. APM, I would say, be careful starting your car. I mean, thanks for your question. Wait, what did you guys hear? Something went wrong. Something went wrong on my end.
What I heard is something that's going to get clipped to be in the intro.
Okay. That's right. Starting the episode with that one.
He had a last little bit though. If you had a favorite anime.
I don't watch as much anime as I probably should. I know there's a lot of good shows coming out. The last show that really impressed me, and this is a poser answer, but the last show that really impressed me was One Punch Man because of how satirical it was. And as someone who grew up with shonen anime, who grew up with Dragon Ball Z and the very macho, I'm the most powerful, you can never defeat me kind of stuff, seeing a show that completely flipped it on his head to say, okay, nobody can beat this guy and he doesn't care. It's really funny and really
it's very funny.
It's really smart too. In how it turns all the tropes of that on its head. So I really like One Punch Man.
Yeah.
Well, there was a question that came in actually a couple hours ago because Isaac was getting a tattoo. He couldn't show up for the live thing here because he's having these ink needles just jammed into him. But he did submit a very good question. We need to know, Kyle, what your fursona is.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Do you? I know nothing about the furry community, so I don't know. So I have nothing to say. What I will say though is that because larger creator people, I think maybe you get the impression that we don't literally see and read everything, but we do. And I get the impression that I am followed by a statistically significant amount of the furry community, like a confusing amount. Like y'all keep showing up. Interesting. And I think that's because of the hair. But that's just I don't know. Maybe it is. But I have no idea what my fursona is.
How does the king of the furries not have a fursona?
What? Don't make that a thing. Do not start that rumor. No.
I was going to ask if any of them have drawn you in a particular
I'm
way.
Usually a lion.
Oh.
Okay. That makes
with
sense.
the
kind
of
main.
There's a main.
Yeah, I get it. But
that's good. Yeah.
I don't. I know nothing about the community, so I don't know. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know what's good and what's.
We don't know the rules either. We just ask the question and we go from there.
I'm tiptoeing because it's too easy to take shots at communities that you don't understand, and I don't want to do that.
Oh yeah. No shots. No shots whatsoever. Yeah. But I was thinking
probably
lion. I'll be honest. I was thinking lion. Some sort of lion.
Some sort of
science lion.
Sci lion.
Yeah.
Let's go with
works.
that. Someone make me a suit.
That's a good one.
Beautiful. All right, we'll get Andre on that.
And then
our resident artist.
And then I want to play. Then I want to challenge Sonic Fox to a battle of Injustice 2. That's
Okay,
that's for you. That's for
specific.
you, furry community. Yeah, I know some things.
So there you go. Yeah, that was more detailed than I was expecting.
Sonic Fox
on the
is
back end.
one of the most accomplished fighting game esports personalities. He's won dozens of championships with fighting games like Injustice and that kind of thing, and Street Fighter and whatnot. And he wears a furry suit, head and tail, and he wears almost a full furry suit when he plays, and it's very distinct.
Okay, that seems like it'd be an impediment.
You think
but
that, but he's looking.
I guess maybe. Yeah.
Hey, let the results speak for themselves.
That's right. That's right. Well, look, we can let the results of your departure from Nerdist and your launch to the facility speak for themselves.
Nice segue.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. Hey, it's what I do. After 100 episodes and change, you get okay at that. But seriously though, it's been, you talk about being an influence to kids, whether it's, I want to be a scientist when I grow up or whatever. But this is an influence within the YouTube community as well, because I can really think of like one other person, Tim Rogers, who left Kotaku and hopefully will be a guest on a future episode of TCU. And he did the independent route and is doing really, really well. But it's a short list that I'm aware of. So, but you're on it, and I think what you're doing is great.
Thank you.
I hope that everybody checks out Kyle's channel, which is just chock full of content. You are a little bit of a workaholic. I don't know if anybody ever told you that.
Yeah, well, it's two things. I'm kind of shark-like in my work ethic. I feel like if I stop swimming, I'll die. That doesn't apply to all sharks, by the way. Not all sharks are RAM obligate ventilators. Whatever.
Okay.
Nurse sharks can blow air over their own gills with the motion of whatever. So it's partly that. And I get some of that from my dad. I think my dad's a big business guy. Anyway. But part of it was that I was terrified to fall flat on my face after leaving. So I kept the same. I left Nerdist with the exact same schedule that I had been on. So even though it was my own thing that I controlled, I was saying like, well, if I don't stay visible, then I will just disappear. So yeah, I'm probably making too much. I'm seeing that now actually, like when my little mini documentary nuclear histories stuff does 10 times better than another video, and I'm putting out a video a week. It's like, well, maybe I just take 5 weeks to just do another one of those, But I was just terrified. I was really scared of not delivering what people expect from me.
Right.
I kind of there might be some sort of vacation or stopping point at 1 million, because psychologically for me, that was more or less where I was at when I left, and I'd like to prove to myself that I can do that again by myself. Like I did it. I can do it. We're good now, Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'm a glutton for punishment. I don't know. Lockdown's been tough. I launched the channel, the new channel, which is youtube.com/KyleHillScience, or just search my name. I launched the channel 1 week before lockdown. My first video was on February 28th of 2020. So my entire new business venture has been parallel with an existential crisis. So it's been weird. It's been really weird.
Yeah, but ironically, you built it around this idea of a facility.
Yeah.
So it worked out really well. I know. Conceptually.
I was driving in my car to work one day, and I had this epiphany, and I remember exactly. I was like, how do I make a narrative thing that's still sciencey and fun, that has a narrative thing that amends itself to a business model that includes subscriptions and feeling like you're a part of something. And I was driving to work, and I was like, oh, that's it. And then lockdown happened, and it's been weird. It's been weird, man. It's been really weird.
serendipitous.
I think so. I got lucky. All of this is of it. My dad likes to say that luck is just hard work plus opportunity. So I try my best to be prepared for opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's a solid equation to live by for sure.
Just be ready to be great. Ooh, I'm gonna write that down.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. It's your next. Maybe that'll be your sign off from now on. That'd be a good sign off.
That's not bad.
But
that's not bad at all. No.
But yeah, so all of our listeners, check out, Kyle Hill. Just put Kyle Hill in the search bar. You will find his channel. Yeah, and check out his Patreon too.
Oh yes. If you want to, you want to see something weird? I can turn on the CTA, Kyle, in a snap. So CTA for listeners, it's business talk for call to action. It's what YouTubers do at the end of the video to tell you to do stuff. And right now, I sound lower key, right? Kind of a little bit more relaxed. But thank you so much. If you want to join the facility, if you want to drape on a silky white lab coat, if you want videos early, if you want to join my Discord, talk with me almost every day, even though I am lurking. If you want private members only live streams with me, not like that. You can go to patreon.com/Kyle Hill and get on the facility staff today. And hey, if you support us just enough, you get your name in every single one of my videos every single week. And can't wait to see you there. Stuff like that.
Yeah, well, there you go. That was
it's
perfect.
It's burned. It's burned into my brain, that kind of structure now.
That's right. It's imprinted. Yeah. It's imprinted like a cattle brand,
a replicant memory.
We're gonna let you go.
Everything he just said, by the way, aside from the lab coat, like same shit with the Create Unknown links in the description. Everything he said.
Yeah.
Just
what a good CTA, Matt. Thank you.
Just ad-lib that.
Everybody that guy said who was better at it than me, do that too. I guess.
I should note if you're searching for me on Wikipedia, I don't exist on Wikipedia, so don't be confused. I'm not a 6'7" black man who plays for the Mavericks, even though yes, I do have a silky smooth jump shot. That is not me. Just letting you know. Even though people keep editing that page to put a picture of me for that guy, which I think is pretty funny. That's not me.
Well, all right. Well, then last call to action is if anybody knows how to make Wikipedia pages, please make one for Kyle.
Oh, no.
Because you deserve it, man, and you deserve all the success, and you deserve that time off. So please, when you hit 1 million subscribers, take maybe one day off and just stare at the wall. I don't know.
I do love staring at a good wall, man.
I figured. Yeah, like we're the same. I feel like we have a lot
just
in common.
Nice.
And
and you said your Discord handle is that you're the WikiFeet curator manager, right? I should note that if you want to find me, I do also have a men's WikiFeet page if you want to check that out.
Oh my God. Yeah, Matt, that's been your Discord handle for way too long.
Kevin,
is that just going to be?
Yeah.
No, that's not mine.
Like months. And I can't remember why I even did it. Like, I think we were joking about something in the Discord and I'm like,
that was brought to my attention recently.
I'll just throw that on.
that was brought to my attention recently. I was like, I've really made it, True.
Wow, there it is. Yeah, you've got 5 photos.
3 out of 5.
Page.
And I agree with that. My feet are gross. I've been a rock climber for 15 years almost. And so my feet are pretty jacked up by stuffing them in like ballerina shoe style kind of shoes. So it's fine. It's fine. I get it. 3 out of 5. That's probably too much.
Live with the 3 out of 5. Yes. Well, you have made it. Congratulations on the Wiki
Thank
feet.
you. It's the only thing that matters to me. IMDb,
the highest achievement. All right, Kyle, man, thank you so much for hanging out with us. It was definitely a pleasure. Everybody go check out his channel, and if you want to support him, the best way to do that is on Patreon. The best way to do that for TCU is also on Patreon. I don't have as good of a call to action on that as Kyle, nor do I have as bad a call to action on that as Matt. I will be distinctly in the middle of those two things, but we'll be back next week. Until then, we'll see you, Space Cowboys.
Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. We'd like to extend a huge thank you and congratulations to the Tots and Dumpster crew who save tiny little lives every single month. A tremendous shout out to our elite baby gang commanders, Linus, our newest, Trevsdead, Boromir, Boddogs, Chinchilla, Isaac, Conrad, James, Andrew, Jeff Davis, Patrick Pister, Baseweight, Monahim, Dojangles, and Zero. And thanks to our grizzled, battle-hardened child infantry, Jen Maffasanti, Kevin Menard, Mikhail Steinke, Risebread, Sean Malone, Triple Question Mark, Ryan, Kamikaze, Maria Marco, Sheep, Tom Videogre, Jelksies, and Dan the Latch. Thank you as well to our indentured servants, producer Dan Yosua and producer-editor Ben Webster. Thanks to Baseweight for use of Created in the Unknown for the opening theme, and to Electro Voice for giving us mics to sound good on top of it. The Create Unknown is an Unknown Media production in partnership with Studio 71.